Last Sunday was a day when the NFL's most significant gains were achieved by the most ancient method known to football men. By securing the football with one's arm and then proceeding to carry it forward, come what may, until either crossing the goal line or being rendered incapable of proceeding further. Dick Hoke of Pittsburgh is the prototype of the old-style running back. He is not very big, not very strong, not very fast. He just knows how to run with a football, well enough to rank 4th in the NFL in total rushing yardage. Number 37, running back Tom Woodishick, is another throwback to the old-time ball carriers. Ranking 3rd in the NFL in total yardage, he has provided just about the only bright spot in a dismal Philadelphia season. In the 3rd quarter last Sunday, he even put the Eagles ahead of the Cardinals, temporarily. Like most good runners, perhaps more than most, he also appreciates how much it means to have a blocker like number 76, Big Bob Brown, clearing the way. Willis Crenshaw of St. Louis, number 33, is having his finest year. His powerful running keeps some of the pressure off Jim Hart, thereby making the Cardinals' passing attack much more effective. Tom Matty of Baltimore, number 41, likewise helps keep the pressure off the Colt quarterbacks. Earl Morrall made sure the Giant defense respected his runners before concentrating on his air attack. Minnesota was lucky enough to have a runner like number 26, Clint Jones, waiting to take over when star halfback Dave Osborne was injured. As before, the Viking running attack is two-pronged, the other prong more closely resembling a bludgeon. His name is Bill Brown, and he too can go outside when he spots daylight in that direction. But Bill Brown, like all fullbacks, is paid to hit the middle of a defense and hit it hard enough to move back the people who are trying to move him back. Leroy Kelly of Cleveland led the NFL in rushing last year and ranks only one rung below that this year because of his brilliant balance and moves on outside runs. Leroy Kelly has gained 763 yards this year, also because of his brilliant balance and moves on inside runs. Number 64, Dave Wilcox of San Francisco, is an All-Pro. Number 44, Leroy Kelly of Cleveland, is an All-Pro and then some. Last Sunday, Leroy Kelly rushed for 174 yards, the most he had ever gained in one game. Not many players can provide the kind of excitement that Kelly can. Probably only one can provide more. He wears number 40, which is approximately the number of players some owners would give up to obtain his services. Last Sunday, against the rough Green Bay defense, number 40, Gale Sayers, rushed for more yards in one game than any other Chicago Bear in history. His 205 yards raised his league-leading total over 800, but kept his league-leading average right where it had been, at an even 6 yards per carry. To put the ball in play, no team in football has a simpler or better strategy than the Chicago Bears. Just station number 40 deep and prepare to send the rest of your offensive team in somewhere near midfield. But those 824 yards rushing were gained the hard way, from the line of scrimmage. Defensive rules. To be stopped at all, Sayers of the Bears must be gang tackled. But rules are much more easily stated than obeyed. The Packers, too, have a history of coming up with a big play. such as a pass from Bart Starr to a somewhat open Carroll Dale for half the length of the field and a quick 6 for Green Bay. The big play is also a way of life for the Packer defense. One must pity a rookie quarterback in only his 3rd start in pro football as he faces one of the most famous and accomplished teams in all of sports. Virgil Carter managed only 4 completions to his own teammates while throwing 2 others to opportunistic Packers Tom Brown, number 40, and Bob Jeter, number 21. Sometimes the Packer pass rush caused Carter a different sort of embarrassment. But in spite of all his passing problems, Virgil Carter did not forget how to move the ball on the ground. On a rollout, Carter easily accomplished what even Gale Sayers could not. He scored the Bears' only touchdown. But, as in the Bear victories of the 2 previous weeks, Carter and Sayers were somewhat overshadowed by the ex-schoolteacher named Mac Percival. Percival, who had never kicked a field goal in college, found himself kicking his 10th consecutive without a miss. Finally, in the 4th quarter, number 60, Leroy Caffey found a way to stop Percival. Soon after, Willie Davis even found a way to stop Sayers. But Cecil Turner caught Herb Adderley before he could turn Sayers' fumble into the winning Green Bay points. With a half-minute remaining and the score tied at 10-10, Green Bay's Donnie Anderson punted from his 5. Cecil Turner fair caught at the 43, thus setting up a rarely invoked free kick. Once again, number 83, Mac Percival, was the man who would decide the outcome. Suddenly, the incredible Bears were in first place, and once again, happiness was to be personified in the ex-schoolteacher from Texas Tech named Percival. Only 3 teams have come this far with less than 3 losses. Baltimore and Los Angeles are still tied for the lead in the Coastal Division. Dallas is still alone atop the Capital Division. Defensive muscle has carried all 3 to their superior records of 7 victories and 8 tries. Of the 3 teams this week, the Rams gave up the most points, 7. Before the largest Ram crowd this season, the Lions scored their 7 points thoughtfully on the opening kickoff. Lem Barney going 98 yards for the score. The Rams, while visions of Baltimore danced in their heads, quickly regained the momentum. Quarterback Roman Gabriel froze Barney on a pump fake and laid a perfect pass into the arms of Bernie Casey, his favorite target in the first quarter. Later in the quarter, Casey gave the Rams a lift by snaring a Gabriel pass with one hand. With the Lions preoccupied with Casey, Gabriel tied the score on a pass to Willie Ellison, who had beaten Tom Vaughn by 2 steps. The Rams' margin of victory came on a 37-yard Bruce Gossett field goal with 6 seconds left in the first half. In the second half, neither offense showed up. The Colts handled the Giants easily, 26-0, as Earl Morrall, playing against his ex-teammates, passed for 1 touchdown to Willie Richardson, number 87. and one to Jimmy Orr, number 28. The shutout marked the first time in 5 years that the Giants had failed to score. The Saints tried hard, but Dallas and its doomsday defense was too much. Cornell Green picked off the errant Carl Sweetan pass and rambled upfield. Don Meredith threw 2 touchdown passes, both to Bob Hayes. Hayes got this 54-yard touchdown second hand, but the Cowboys took it anyway and tamed the Saints 17-3. In Philadelphia and San Francisco, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns remain tied for the Century Division lead as they continue to look like the most improved teams in the league. In their very first series of downs, young Jim Hart and super sophomore Dave Williams, number 80, began as though it was simply their team's turn to insult the winless Eagles. 11 plays after he got the ball, Hart himself scored, and to no one's surprise, the Cardinals had the first quarter lead. But the Eagles did spring some real surprises, like the one where Gary Ballman, the split end, becomes Gary Ballman, the fullback, and gallops for 30. It wasn't all trickery either, as Philadelphia had its best Sunday all year. Norm Snead lofted a bomb to Fred Hill for 31 yards and evened up the score, 7 apiece. Third-ranked NFL rusher Tom Woodishick worked his usual full day like this and later scored. The Eagles actually led in the third quarter. That scared some sense back into the Cardinals. With new resolve, Jim Hart got down to business and hit his specially trained antelope, Dave Williams, with a 58-yard advance that set up another 1-yard Hart plunge. After that, the game looked exactly like it was supposed to look. Number 27, Roy Shivers, got on the end of a 40-yard throw, and Philadelphia never moved again. The struggling Eagles had to simply watch as they were ruthlessly exterminated. Roy Shivers had the final 4-yard shot, and the Birds are now officially extinct this year with their 8th straight loss. When the Browns came to San Francisco, they knew that the 49ers were as much improved as they were. They also knew that they were in part responsible for the 49ers' improvement when they dealt them the league's leading receiver, Clifton McNeil, number 85. After McNeil's 35-yard reception, quarterback John Brody's play-action fake to number 22, Gary Lewis, froze the Brown defense. The result of the fake was worth a touchdown to John David Crow and an early 7-3 lead. Tight safety Alvin Randolph of the 49ers has justly deserved his reputation as a fierce hitter and a clever defender. Randolph, number 27, saved a possible touchdown when he deftly nudged number 89, tight end Milt Morin, out of position and made a spectacular interception. Aided by a crushing block by linebacker Ed Beard, number 50, and some fine running of his own, Randolph ran the 49ers out of danger. In the second quarter, the 49ers increased their margin to 14-3 on the bullish charges of fullback Ken Willard and a 9-yard touchdown pass from Brody to the sure-fingered McNeil. Cleveland quarterback Bill Nelson, looking more and more like the genuine article with each passing week, never let the game get out of reach. This touchdown to Milt Morin narrowed San Francisco's lead. And the second of 2 Don Cockcroft field goals gave the Browns a 16-14 halftime advantage. In the second half, the Browns turned loose Leroy Kelly, and the magnificent setback exploded through the 49ers for 174 yards. Blending the running of Kelly with a fierce defense, Cleveland completely manhandled the frustrated 49ers in the second half. The Browns' often maligned defense shrouded 49er runners with an umbrella of white jerseys. And when the 49ers were in sight of a score, linebacker Jim Houston blitzed Brody with effect. Even when the Browns missed opportunities, they came out winners. Remember the line, the bigger they are, the harder they... Well, you thought it was true, and so did Kermit Alexander, number 39, until he met someone bigger named Walter Johnson. The Browns' offense perfectly complemented their defense with a fourth-period touchdown by Milt Morin that ran the score to 33-14. The 49ers scored a last-gasp touchdown, but it was much too late as the Browns remained tied with the Cardinals in the Century Division. In Minnesota and Georgia, it was a day of big plays as the Vikings regained a share of first place with Chicago, and the heretofore punchless Pittsburgh Steelers exploded all over Atlanta Stadium. There are 2 minutes to go in the game, and Washington and Minnesota are locked in a scoreless tie. But suddenly everything clicks for the Skins as they come up with the big plays. Joe Cap's pass for Tom Hall is intercepted by number 46, Ricky Harris. Sonny Jurgensen, after weeks of misery, is back in the groove, and he hits number 20, Jerry Allen, for 10 yards and a key first down. Even third-string quarterback Harry Theophilides is on target as he finds Pat Richter, number 88, for 24 big yards, and Washington is threatening. Then it's Theophilides to Richter again for the touchdown, and miraculously, the Redskins lead. But can they stop the Vikings? Of course. Washington's crushing defense forces Big Bill Brown to fumble, and Jim Yazoo Smith goes 69 yards for a touchdown and a 14-0 win over Minnesota. But alas, poor Otto. This was only a daydream. In reality, for the Redskins, the game was more like a nightmare, because until those last 2 minutes, nothing went right. When Jurgensen could complete a pass, the receivers couldn't hang on. Here, A.D. Whitfield, for reasons known only to him, donates the ball to number 60, Roy Winston. Mike Bragg's punt is blocked by number 29, Carl Kasulke. And when he tries to kick again, Kasulke recovers. And when Bragg did finally get one away, a booming 60-yarder, what happens but a 98-yard touchdown return by number 40, Charlie West. This run tied the league record for punt returns, a record on the books since 1933. Meanwhile, when Washington wasn't hurting itself, the Vikings were inflicting punishment of their own. Cap to Gene Washington, all alone in the end zone for a touchdown. And Cap on a bomb to Washington, who outraces Pat Fisher and Jim Smith for 61 yards and another touchdown, as Washington suffers its third straight loss and the Vikings coast to a 27-14 win. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's Roy Jefferson, number 87, was having a dream day for himself against the Atlanta Falcons. Here he takes a 61-yard pass from quarterback Dick Shiner for his second touchdown of the game. Jefferson had a big day, coming up with the big touchdown play 4 times, 1 short of the record. He is the first man to catch 4 touchdown passes in one game since Mike Ditka of the Bears did it against the Rams in 1963. Jefferson's last touchdown catch came from quarterback Kent Nix, but it was just as easy, as he went on to gain 199 yards in all. Pittsburgh helped its Prince Charming, Jefferson, with 2 touchdowns on the ground. This one by Don Schei from the 3. But meanwhile, poor Atlanta, like Cinderella at 11:45, had to wait too long to start enjoying the ball. Quarterback Bob Berry finally hit Ray Ogden for a 29-yard touchdown and the Falcons' first score. In the 4th quarter, Berry flipped to Bill Harris, number 35, who skipped his way down the sidelines for 55 yards and the Falcons' second touchdown. Late in the last period, Berry found number 80, Bob Long, for a 3rd touchdown, but it was not enough to keep Pittsburgh from waltzing to an easy 41-21 victory. With a win in their next game against the incredible shrinking Giants from New York, the Dallas Cowboys can start planning for an Eastern Conference Championship game to be held 4 days before Christmas, probably in either Cleveland or St. Louis. Despite the Cowboys' head start, half the league still has about an even chance of reaching the NFL championship game, to be held probably in Dallas, Cleveland, or St. Louis. After 8 weeks of play, only one fact has been established with mathematical certainty. There will be no postseason games played this year in Philadelphia. I'm Pat Summerall.